Jaden!
What?
My 2.8 liter 24 valve Golf GTI is burning coolant again! What do I do?
God damn it, Jordan, you have a video on how to do this.
Damn it, you're right! Now I have to work on this piece of shit with a fucking YouTube video and tutorial. Hey guys, third gear grind today, doing a video on how to do your head gasket on your VR6 24 valve. This works for 3.2, 2.8, whatever. Here's an arts and crafts organizer that I use to keep all my bolts organized. And also, before you start, make sure you rotate your motor to top dead center. I didn't do that. You'll see that in halfway through the video. Anyways, we remove the battery. We remove the battery tray. Remove the air box. Then I remove the intake pipe with the breather pipe as one piece. It's easier because you don't break the PCV valve. Then we got the connections at the back of the manifold. I use vice grips to help compress those very stiff plastic pipes to remove them. Then I took the grill off. Then we took the bumper off, had to take the wheel well screws out. There goes the foam. This is a special wobble bit we needed to take out the many intake manifold bolts. Obviously the coil packs got to come out as well. Remove the intake manifold and the switchover valve vacuum piece. You can see all that shit. This is a 15 mil long wrench that helped me take off the serpentine pulley tensioner from the cylinder head. Then I absolutely pissed fuel everywhere twice. Then I unplugged the knock sensor at the left top side of the cylinder head, undid 2 large Allen bolts for the exhaust heat shield. Then there's one more 10 mil for the hard coolant pipes at the back. Use a mini ratchet for that. Then moved a bunch of shit out of the way. Undid a 13 mil nut on this side that also holds that hard coolant bracket onto the heat shield. Took that off. Started ripping off the headers. It was just easier than those 6 nuts. So, and then we had a bare cylinder head. Here I broke a plastic T-piece. It cost me 70 bucks at the dealer. By the way, don't take that piece off the plastic. Take it off the cylinder head instead. You won't break it. Then I go ahead and disconnect cam sensors, VVT sensors, the secondary air pipe from the combi valve, and then 2 5mm hexes, and this whole bracket just kind of holds all of this shit in one place. Then we disconnect the injector harness. I disconnected the fuel lines from the bracket on the valve cover, as well as the knock sensor wire since that's tied into the injector harness. Here I'm undoing some throttle body coolant lines and connectors, just making everything free. The vacuum line for the fuel pressure regulator. And there's one more bracket with 2 5mm Allens down here for the transmission speed sensor. Started removing the valve cover, 10mm nuts and bolts, and I definitely didn't expect what was underneath here. Turned out this motor turned into a 23 valve, ejected a rocker arm. Someone definitely did not install this correctly and ended up partially bending the intake valve and also permanently making it shut. The bore still compressed to 130 psi. Took the upper timing cover bolts out. 27mm upper chain tensioner bolt had to come out. I had some paper towel ready because it was going to piss oil all over my face hole. 2 6mm Allen bolts on the bottom of this upper timing cover. Took those out, whacked this upper timing cover off with a mallet, and I could see that the previous owner didn't do their oil changes. Now I grabbed a 17 mil socket and a 32 mil wrench to counterhold that crankshaft, took the gear off. You're supposed to replace that bolt at the dealer. It's apparently a stretch one. I reused it. Sue me. 2 6mm Allens for the lower chain guide. Alright, here I am taking the head bolts out. I also had to take the exhaust cam gear off and the intake cam to get better access to the head bolts and also to remove the VVT housing on the cylinder head. It was easier this way because the chain got in the way of the solenoid. We also needed the intake cam off to take off 12 valves. They get in the way of resurfacing the cylinder head. So here is a $100 valve spring compressor that I got off Amazon. It did the job. The other ones don't work. Use this one. You could pay a machine shop to do this as well if you want. Here I am sticking grease to the valve collets to reinstall the valve springs and retainers. I also did valve stem seals while I was in here. That's a very smart idea. The technique I used was to put grease on the screwdriver and the collet. I put it on the one side that I had access to, and with the grease on the collet and the valve, I was able to slide it to the left side and then reinstall the second half. Here I am being a dumbass, not having the motor at TDC already, so I had to lift the chain a bunch of times so it wouldn't get jammed in the intermediate sprocket. And here I am tapping the cylinder head dowels into the block. Make sure you got these. These are pretty crucial. Silicone on the lower timing cover that goes underneath the head gasket. If you forget that, you might have a leak. You might not. Maybe the gasket will compensate. Anywho, did it for good luck. Here we are putting the new cylinder head in. I haven't put the camshaft back on just because we have a lot of reassembly for the VVT. There's a notch that you need to see at TDC. You really need to make sure that's there. If it's not, it's probably on the other side. Guess it doesn't matter. I don't know. Just put it there. Put all the head bolts back in before reinstalling the cam. Here is the torque specs and also the torque sequence. It's different for 24 valve versus 12 valve as it turns out. Here's the camshaft at top dead center. I started torquing the head bolts one by one. Here I am doing the final torque, the 90-degree turn. I believe there's two 90-degree turns, so you have to pretty much do that twice. Now it was time to install the camshaft back into place. Kept my cam caps in order, threw them all on, kind of tightened some of them down, finger tight, put the cam at top dead center, and then I started bolting them down. I torqued the cam caps to 15 or 20 foot-pounds. I can't remember. Search up the spec. It's on Google. Then I rotated the VVT camshaft rings 180 degrees from each other, and make sure that you have this O-ring or Dremel out the steel insert filter, because sometimes they get stuck in those solenoids, they break loose. You could also, if you lose that, get a generic O-ring and press it into place. Here I am throwing it back on, kind of give it a shimmy. It's M8 triple square bolts. Make sure that the chain goes over it first or you're screwed. Then I messed around with this bullshit, reused my cam gear bolts. They didn't blow up, by the way, but you can, if you want to, replace them. It's like $7 each. I'm not going to go too in depth with timing this, but you need 16 rollers in between the two cam gear arrows, and all the slack needs to be on the tensioner side. If you want more in-depth videos, they're out there, but this is mainly for the head gasket. Here we threw on the silicone and a new seal for the coolant area. Now I'm torquing the cam gear bolt. These do stretch if you over torque them or torque them multiple times. I'd say you could reuse them like one time, maybe two times. It's about 75 foot-pounds. Then I slapped the upper timing cover on with a mallet and we're good to go. One thing watching this back that didn't come very well across on video is that you need to resurface your cylinder head. It needs to be perfectly flat before you put that head gasket on. It didn't blow because it was old. It blew because the cylinder head ended up warping to a point where water could seep past the gasket and the block into the combustion chamber. So that's why the valves got to come off. Pay a machine shop to resurface it. If you want to save some money, do those valves and take them out for the machine shop and put them back in, and you'll get the cheapest price possible. By the way, if you're doing this job expecting it to raise your compression ratio, you will be disappointed. If your compression ratio is low on your 2.8 24 valve, I will guarantee you it is your pistons and rings. More so, just the bore has worn out to a polish and you have some blow-by going by. If you ultrasonically clean those piston rings and do a fresh hone with some break-in oil, all of that will be well, especially if you do it in conjunction with this cylinder head job. So thanks for watching.